How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. Again, probably the most important thing I can tell you this week is if you got a frozen turkey over 15 pounds, you probably want to start thawing it out in your fridge. Don't thaw it in the counter, thaw it in the fridge. And probably start tonight or in the morning, and it will take several days to do. It'll be ready in time for Thanksgiving. Do not, please, for the love of all that is decent and holy on planet Earth, do not put a frozen turkey in a deep fryer. Don't do it unless, well, you want to burn down your house and ruin your Thanksgiving. I mean, if you want to do that, do that. Thank you again. We raised $265,000 to help feed families in need. That works out to be about 6,625 households will be taken care of for Thanksgiving. Thank you all. This afternoon, if you text data to 33777 and subscribe, paid or unpaid, doesn't matter. I'm going to send out all my recipes here in just a little while. But I want to spend a moment talking to all of you because, well, it needs to be said. Over the last 2 weeks, there's been a lot of talk about Jeffrey Epstein in the press. It has been politically amplified by Democrats convinced that they could trap Donald Trump. It's become the forever conspiracy, by the way. There have already been a number of people, including Jeffrey Epstein's brother, going on CNN and elsewhere saying, if the name you think is there isn't there, and he didn't actually say this, but it's kind of the implied, they're going to strip out names, going to claim it's national security. All the ties between Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA, they're going to disappear at memory hole. It's the forever conspiracy. The Epstein story was never going to deliver as much as people were promised, and because it's not, people are convinced they're hiding more stuff. What I have discovered, though, is the less you're online, the less you care. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We've covered Marjorie Taylor Greene on this program. She's been on CNN. She's called the president a traitor. She started sounding more and more progressive. Most people couldn't care less. The strum and drang of 24-hour news heightens your anxiety and your focus. I actually think that the happiest people I know are the people who are the least online and the least engaged with the news. This week, millions of Americans were going to work, and they're going to be thinking about when to thaw out the turkey, what sides to cook with the turkey, who's doing what, where are we going, when are we going, where are we staying, which bedroom are people going to be in, have I remembered to clean up, will I remember to clean up? They're going to drive by, and they're not going to think about Marjorie Taylor Greene or Jeffrey Epstein or Donald Trump. They're going to be thinking about Thanksgiving. They're not going to be thinking about their anxieties in the news. To the extent they are, they're going to be miserable. Millions of Americans are going to head out for the holidays this year. They're going to pass houses in which nameless and faceless residents live. They're going to pass nameless homeless people, some of whom are holding up cardboard signs with black Sharpie marker asking for help. In some of the houses that you and I drive past in the next week on our way to grandma's or wherever we're going, there's going to be someone struggling, someone despairing, someone depressed. Some people not just living paycheck to paycheck, but living beyond their paycheck, budget stretched thin and Christmas on the way. That's why a lot of people get depressed during the holidays. The less we're online, the happier we are. The less we stew over the news we cannot control, the happier we are. But there are a lot of us who are going to be miserable because we just can't escape the politics of the here and now. And so much of what you see online and on cable news is designed to promote your anxiety. Some of us confuse ourselves for God's sovereign will. We assure ourselves if we post that one more thing on social media or we spend 5 more minutes stewing over some problem in Washington we can't control that somehow we'll be happy. And instead of being thankful, we're angry, resentful, we're obnoxious to each other, obnoxious to ourselves, obnoxious online. And we have missed the signs of family and of friends who might be struggling, depressed, despairing, in need of some help, or maybe just a hug. We've ignored the homeless man in our backyard for the homeless issue in Washington, D.C. that's not going to be solved. We have thanked God we are not like that other guy. We haven't thanked him for our daily bread. And we haven't tried to get to know that other guy. We've otherized that other guy. We hadn't really loved our neighbors. We haven't really done unto others as we would have them do unto you because we've otherized them or we have otherwise left them unknown to us. It's hard to love things you know sometimes. It's even harder to love things you don't know and people you don't know. And here we arrive at the holiday season. It's come fast, hasn't it? I feel like there's some grand conspiracy to guilt me into putting up all my Christmas decorations early. There was a neighbor down the street from me who had her Christmas tree up the day after Halloween, November 1st. She was putting up her Christmas decorations. When did this happen? When did this trend happen that suddenly you get to, first of all, there was this big trend of everybody decorating for Halloween, and I just resisted. I'm like, why am I putting up demons in my front yard? You got all these people who they'd rather put up their demons and witches than put up their angels and their Christmas decorations. And now suddenly it's like November 1st, let's get the Christmas stuff up. And you know what pains me the most is that these people who put up their Christmas decorations on November 1st are probably going to take them down on the first day of Christmas. There are 12 days of Christmas, people, 12 days. The last day, January 5th, you turn your lights off before the end of the day, before sunset on January 5th. And then on January 6th, it's Epiphany, and you start making king cakes. It's Mardi Gras season. There are 12 days of Christmas, from sundown Christmas Eve until sundown on January 5th. That's Christmas. You leave the lights on 24/7 for those 12 days. It's a good tradition you should get into instead of putting your Christmas lights up on November 1st. We're not even at Thanksgiving. I've got my turkeys and cornucopias on the tables right now. I don't have time to put up Christmas decorations. We hire some people to put up our Christmas lights. Full disclosure, they did come yesterday to put up the Christmas lights. And while all of that is happening, by the way, we got all these people online that are yelling at each other. People are stewing over their Christmas lights, whether to put them up or not, or why the heck did the neighbor put them up the day after Halloween? Meanwhile, there's probably someone in your family or a friend who is hurting right now. There's probably someone you know who has withdrawn. I want you just right now, while we're talking, you and me, do you have a friend who's kind of gone quiet on you? Do you have a relative, a brother, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin who's gone kind of quiet? Have you reached out to them and asked if they're okay? We're in the holiday seasons and stress and bills have piled up. You might just need to be nice to somebody right now. If you put down your phone and you turn off the news and you breathe in deeply and exhale, you might realize you've got the power. And I need you to just hear me. Stop rolling your eyes. I can feel it. If you turn off your phone, if you just breathe in deeply and exhale, you might realize you have the power to reset the condition of a neighbor, of a friend, of a family member who's right now struggling. We're a week away from Thanksgiving. Someone you know lost a relative this year who will no longer be at Thanksgiving. And it's made them sad. Someone you know has a child who has moved away, who can't get home for Thanksgiving, or maybe, just maybe, it could be you may be in a situation where your kid got married and they're doing Thanksgiving with the in-laws and you're going to be home alone. Or your friend is. Why don't y'all get together for Thanksgiving? You got a week to plan for this. Here's the thing. This is the point I'm getting to. We spend a lot of time, all of us, if you listen to talk radio, caring about the news. And there's a lot of news out there you can't do a damn thing about, frankly. You can't persuade the president to cut his tariffs. You can't persuade the Democrats to be serious. You can't do anything with anything happening in Washington, D.C. You can't even do it with your state capital. You have the power, though, to reset the condition of someone's life if you just engage with that person relationally. And this is the time of year to consider doing it, because this is the time of year people get really depressed. It's not just everything else going on. We also have less sunlight. People get seasonal affective disorder, sad. People do get depressed because of the lack of sunlight. And we've isolated ourselves. Now is the time of year for you to maybe stop thinking about your position in relation to Donald Trump or what someone on the internet has done that made you mad, and just start realizing there's somebody out there you know who just could use a hug or a kind word or an invitation to your home for Thanksgiving. You put all of that attention to detail in how the table is set and what is going to be served. Do you have your grandmother's secret recipe for stuffing or dressing or sweet potatoes or mashed potatoes or Hasselback potatoes or corn on the cob or cream corn or the magic pie recipe? Have you put as much thought into who among your friend group or family has isolated themselves and might be struggling with depression right now, who lost a loved one or doesn't have a relative who can come eat with them, or might be sitting home alone for Thanksgiving, and you inviting them to sit with you and your family for Thanksgiving and make memories with you could mean everything to them. And literally for some people, it could be life or death. Suicide rates this time of year are through the roof. Every year. Have you thought about that? Or are you thinking about your anxiety because you saw a story on Fox News or MSNBC that got you worked up? Are you fighting with someone online? You know, I always comment on how there's a certain segment of the new right guys these days. They all wear plaid shirts and have almost the exact same haircut. It's very weird. Very weird. And this week, they're all worked up about the Muslims in Dearborn, Michigan. Last week, it was about the illegal immigrants. The week before that, it was about the neo-Nazis and whether or not you should target Tucker Carlson. Every week, there's some new outrage for them to get spun up. Maybe they should spend a day at the homeless shelter or the soup kitchen and stop worrying about that stuff and worry about the homeless guy. Are you your brother's keeper? You are your brother's keeper. Who is your neighbor? The people in your community. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you have the opportunity to take your kids to work at a soup kitchen or a food bank, just stocking shelves, consider it. And if you can't, consider writing a check still. But more than anything else, I really, if I can use this show for one good thing, let it be this. Someone you know is struggling right now and putting on a facade of contentment when they're not. They are lonely. They're sad. They're depressed. They're overwhelmed with bills. They're struggling to make ends meet. And you don't know it because you've been so involved in your preparations for Thanksgiving and keeping up with the headlines and being angry about what someone said somewhere on social media. You hadn't paid attention. Can you put a little thought into, do you know anybody like that? And can you maybe, just maybe, extend an invite to them for Thanksgiving? Or just connect over coffee? Or just offer them a kind word? You have the power to reset the condition of a neighbor or a friend or a family member, maybe with even just something as simple as a smile. Can you spend the next few days, instead of fretting about Washington, D.C., thinking about whose condition you might be able to reset just simply by being thankful? Guys, if you struggle to come up with gifts for family members, I got a suggestion for you, the Cove Pure. I love mine. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I do, and I really, really, really do. What is a Cove Pure? Well, it's an water filtration system. It's on the countertop. You can get cold water. You can get hot water. It even has a bottle button, so you can get the warm bottle perfect for formula for your baby at night. It's really easy. It's so convenient. I use it all the time in my office. You will love it. It sits on the countertop. It uses reverse osmosis. It gets rid of like pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. It tastes fantastic. If you're looking for a great gift for your loved ones or for yourself that they're actually going to use the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They're giving you a $250 holiday discount with my link, covepure.com/Eric. That's covepure.com/Eric, ERICK. You get $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale is going to end, so take advantage of this $250 holiday discount, covepure.com/Eric. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. Dick Cheney had his funeral earlier today. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were not actually invited to it. I'm seeing a lot of people using the opportunity now to drag the Cheney family for that. But, I mean, let's be clear, there was no love lost between the Cheneys and the President of the United States. I just don't really. Sometimes people like the president, he's tweeting about the stupid video montage of the Democratic members of Congress saying they need to be executed for it, that it's treasonous. It's not treason. It's not. Now, listen, you can say it's treason because you don't know the legal definition of treason, but it's stupid is what it is. But it's also stupid for the president to go say these people need to be executed for their stupid video montage. Some things don't have to be commented on, but that's not the president's style. We're suddenly into silly season. We're at the end of the year. There's not a lot happening in Congress right now. And everybody's tired of everybody. They all want to go home for the holidays. They've been stuck up there dealing with the government shutdown, except the House, which disappeared for a month. Now you got word coming out that Dan Crenshaw has been barred from foreign travel because he apparently was drunk in Mexico and said something that offended a colleague or something? Guy in the military. And this is crazy season. And now we got the rise of Mamdani. He's headed to the White House to visit the president. I'll tell you, well, we got to play some audio of him when we come back. First, I need to tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them and save $200. You get them for less than $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com today, EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3, no space. At EdenPureDeals.com, they wipe out odors. They eliminate all odors. They generate ozone, which tackles any odor and wipes it out. Pet odors, smoke odors, cooking odors, musty odors, you name it. You get 3 of them. They're small. They're portable. I keep one in my travel bag. You can plug it up with a USB cord or into the wall. It also gets rid of dust and bacteria, viruses, all that. But I use it as an odor eliminator, and it just shines. EdenPureDeals.com. Eden like the Garden of Eden. Pure as the driven snow. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. You get 3 of them. You save $200. You get them for less than $200. It's an incredible deal. Also, great stocking stuffer gift. EdenPureDeals.com. ERIC3 is your discount code. Get them for upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, wherever you need them. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson, 877-973-7425, should you wish to be on the program. This Mamdani, mayor-elect of New York, he's a commie. He's willing to talk about his. He doesn't want to use the phrase. He says democratic socialism. That he smiles. He's a communist who smiles. So he's a democratic socialist. But he still wants to take from those who have and give to those who have not. He wants to seize the means of production. He had this weird comment. He was doing a TV interview in New York. Just listen to this. This kind of sets the stage for all of it.
And the other one, you're talking about fast and free buses and you're meeting with the governor. I've heard you talk about many times that you don't want to take money away from the MTA. You want to put money back in. It's something that she agrees with, right? We don't want to take away money from the MTA. How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MTA if she's not for raising taxes?
You know, I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey. I think that a lot of this is still a case to be made, whether it's the corporate tax or whether it's the personal income tax on those who make more than $1 million a year or more. I think that these are the clearest ways. I've also said that if there are other ways to raise this funding, the most important fact is that we fund it, not the question of how we do it, but that we do it.
Got that? The more important question is that we make things free, not how we make things free. There is no free ride. So he wants to raise corporate taxes in New York to pay for the bus service in New York City. Y'all, I'm on the radio now in multiple cities in New York, from Buffalo to... For those of you who do not know, you have Buffalo, New York, Albany, New York. I'm not going to sing the Erie Canal song, but it was in my head. You've got Rochester, Syracuse, Binghamton, Ithaca. You got Schenectady, New York. You've got Long Island. You've got Seneca. You got Amherst. I mean, I'm not even that far zoomed in on the map, and I can see Potsdam, New York. There's Watertown. There's Rome. There's Utica. There's Cooperstown. There's Jamestown, New York. There's Saratoga Springs on the map, Troy, New York, outside Albany, New York, Poughkeepsie, New York. And then there's New York City. People in New York City oftentimes believe they are at the center of the universe, not just the world. They believe they're the capital of the world. And it's always been interesting to me that the people of New York City believe that the rest of New York is kind of beholden to New York City. And the mayor of New York City wants to raise a corporate tax on a state to make free in a city the buses and the subway. But really, he just wants to make it free. It's kind of a Field of Dreams version for the bus and subway system in New York. Now, here's the thing. I've been on the subway in New York. I try to avoid it now. I used to not. I used to be happy to take the subway in New York, but nowadays you can get lighter fluid thrown on you and set on fire in New York in the subway system. The crime in the New York subway system, and guys like Mamdani have decided that we need more social workers and less police, and they've decided that crime is just a part of it. That it really is, in his mind, that crime is a part of what you put up with, and you just got to live with it. And now he wants to make it free, which will incentivize even more crazy people getting on the subway system and on the buses of New York. And you can see where this thing heads, and it's not good. And the idea that we just need to make these things free. Now, this is a guy who... he's not really that accomplished. This is part of the problem we have in particularly progressive politics, but it's becoming a problem on the right as well. Where on the left and the right, people are embracing charismatic political figures who are spectacularly unaccomplished. what's his name? Madison Cawthorn in North Carolina, the guy in the wheelchair. He was not very accomplished, but he spoke MAGA, and people decided he needed to go to Congress and embarrassed himself there and got redistricted and pushed out of Congress. And what's ever happened to the kid? Memdani in New York, AOC. I mean, at least AOC, she worked in bars. She's a commie, but she actually had some sweat equity working. Memdani is from a very privileged household, from a mother who works for in Hollywood and a father who's an academic, and he's never had to have a real job. One of his most spectacular work efforts was getting a credit as an assistant director on a movie. It turned out his mother made the movie, and he just went into progressive politics. He's never had to deal with the consequences of the level of socialism that he wants. He's never had to live it, and he's pretty sure if he does, he'll reign supreme over everybody else. So he's willing to advocate for policies that he will never have to feel the effects of, and is convinced he knows best. And again, like I have said the whole time, I wanted this guy to get elected, and I am delighted for Zoran Mamdani to get elected in New York City, because I want the people of New York to get his policies, and I want them to get them good and hard. I want them to feel the effects and outcome of his policies. I think he should make the bus and subway system in New York free, and watch what happens. If he wants to raise the city tax, New York City, if he raises taxes, he'll actually be pricing himself out. He claims by raising the corporate tax to New Jersey's level that there's nothing wrong with that because taxes are cheaper in New York. That's not actually true, because there are layers of other taxes in New York City he's not talking about that actually prices New Jersey's taxes as less. So the overall corporate tax rate in New Jersey is technically higher, but with a lot of the deductions you get in New Jersey and all the other taxes piled on top, it's actually cheaper to live in New Jersey than it is New York, and he's deluding people into thinking it's cheaper in New York and we can raise taxes and still be cheaper. It's already more expensive, but he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the facts. He cares about the dream. There are a lot of dreamers who get into politics. And Memdani is just one of the latest. And he'll never have to feel the effects of his policies himself. He'll be isolated and insulated from them. He wants to expand immigration. He wants to protect illegal immigrants. He wants to decriminalize prostitution, which is just going to expand human trafficking. Amsterdam gets a lot of attention for its red light district and prostitution in Amsterdam. Do you know that in the last several years in Amsterdam, they have curtailed prostitution? It's still a thing, but not like it was. Do you know why they reined it in and started regulating it more? Human trafficking. They determined that their promiscuity laws were enabling and emboldening human trafficking in the Netherlands. And they had to rein it in. In fact, there was a scandal some time ago in the Netherlands where it turned out a woman who was acting as a prostitute in one of the brothels in the red light district was identified as a kidnapping victim. And she had been held there against her will. Memdani wants to do that to New York City. The left claims it's about female empowerment using their bodies to make money. It's actually enabling the degradation of society and human trafficking, among other things. But they don't care. They don't want to see it that way. They put their blinders on. When I was on my city council and I was fighting human trafficking, it was the whole reason I ran for office, is all these Asian-themed massage parlors around Middle Georgia. And it turned out a lot of them are fronts for human trafficking. And had a member of my city council he flat out didn't care about it. Turns out he was a landlord renting to a number of these places. But he was so dismissive of there's nothing wrong with it. It's a victimless crime. It's consensual. Except when you look into it, it's really not. And honestly, it's an abuse of society where we convince women that you can use your body to make money through providing sex for men. You've degraded your body to do so. And what's so interesting is you hear the stories of the women who have come out of prostitution and the damage they did to themselves, the psychological damage, the toil and toll on their body, the abuse they have taken. And you get so many advocates for prostitution that claim it's about women's empowerment. You talk to the women who got out of it. It's anything but. And yet Mamdani thinks, we should have that in New York City. Legalize licentiousness. Reduce the number of police. Increase the number of social workers. I'm sorry, but when there's an active shooter present, I don't think sending a social worker in is going to make much of a difference. I think sending in a police sniper squad to take out the person is probably the better thing to do, and he apparently thinks we need to sing Kumbaya to the criminals. New York is going to feel the effects of his policies. And what's so interesting is you can see this shaping up. Let me play this clip one more time for you, because I got to point something out in this clip.
And the other one, you're talking about fast and free buses and you're meeting with the governor. I've heard you talk about many times that you don't want to take money away from the MTA. You want to put money back in. It's something that she agrees with, right? We don't want to take away money from the MTA. How are you getting that money, the $700 million to make the buses free, into the MTA if she's not for raising taxes?
I think that the two clearest ways to raise that money is through the raising of the state's corporate tax to match that of New Jersey.
But she said no. You see, and this is where this is going to head, and it's so obvious this is where this is going to head, is many of the things that he wants to do, he's not going to be able to do, in large part because other politicians that have to consent to him are going to say no. And so the blame by the socialists or the communists will be on those other people. They're already threatening to challenge Hakeem Jeffries to find someone. They're going to challenge Chuck Schumer. They're going to challenge Schumer and push him out the door, possibly Hakeem Jeffries as well. They're going to try to push further and further left, and they're going to keep blaming everyone else until they can control everything. They're going to try to convince the gullible that the reason life isn't better isn't because of a failure of their policies. It's because their policies couldn't be fully implemented because other people said no. Other people said, we're not going to raise corporate taxes across the state of New York to fund free bus service in New York City. Other politicians have decided we're not going to get rid of education programs that you think cause inequity. The guy really wants to get rid of advanced education programs in high schools, in middle schools. He wants to get rid of the gifted program in New York City. Reminds me of that quote again from Tom Wolfe the other day, who I read back when Leonard Bernstein and his wife held a dinner party for a Black Panther who announced that essentially if these upper-income white New Yorkers would back his policies, there would be no upper-income white New Yorkers, nor would there be mansions on Park Avenue. And they all applauded him. They were their ally, filled with white guilt and shame. They decided they wanted to advance a man who would destroy their ways of life because they were convinced he wouldn't come for them. So one of the things the commies always do is they convince the well-to-do socialites and celebrities that they'll be spared until they're in power, and then they're not. This is what Mamdani will do in New York City. And we all need to watch it happen. You know, if you're a longtime listener to this program, I'm always a little resentful of the fact that people think you have to talk about New York City because it's the center of the universe. And if there's a snowflake that falls in New York City, it gets disproportionate coverage because all the news comes out of New York City. CNN is there, Fox News is there, MSNBC is there, ABC, CBS, NBC. They're all in New York City. The New York Times still, to some degree, sets the coverage of a lot of these organizations and what's on their front page. And if there's a snowflake in New York City, it's going to get national news coverage, and it shouldn't. And I think that it's overplayed. I think it's overdone. I think there's an obsession with New York City that is unfounded. But also, I do think it's relevant that this city has decided to head in the exact opposite direction of a place like San Francisco, which has realized it went too far to the left and is now lurching back towards the center. It's not going to get there, but they're lurching back that way. And in New York City, they're like, nah, I think we want to try the full socialism. San Francisco rejected. This is a global experiment, and we're going to watch the blame game when they fail. They're never going to accept responsibility for what happens with their policies. Frankly, it's kind of like the tariff stuff. We all said what was going to happen, and they said no, no, no. And now what we said's happening is exactly what's happening. They're like, not our fault, somebody else's fault. Look over there. That's what's going to happen with Mamdani in New York. When that place comes crashing down under communist policies, people flee. The wealthy decide they can't afford to live there anymore. They're going to protect themselves and their families. And we're left with a group of people who can't afford to support what has been built before them. Well, it's going to be somebody else's fault, and they'll just keep hating the rich. So I'm assuming by now you've heard Sheila Phyllis McCormick is facing up to 53 years in prison for stealing FEMA funds. She would be a member of Congress. Of course, she's screaming, but Trump, but Trump, but Trump. The Justice Department said that Sherfilis McCormick, 46, and Edwin Sherfilis, her brother, 51, worked on a staffing contract funded by FEMA for COVID vaccines tied to their family health care company in 2021. The company was overpaid by $5 million. She and her brother are accused of conspiring to steal the overpayment and route it through various accounts to conceal its origins. Sherfilis McCormick is alleged to have used the money for her own enrichment and to fund a significant part of her congressional campaign. She won a special election in January 2022 to fill the seat of the late Democratic Representative Al C. Hastings, who himself had been an impeached judge. So, boy, that particular district in Florida knows how to pick them, don't they? She won 72.3% of the vote. And was reelected last year running uncontested in this Democratic seat. So Al C. Hastings was a federal judge who was one of the very few federal judges in the modern era impeached and thrown out of the life tenure of a judge. But Congress did not actually, the Senate didn't take the next step of banning him from ever holding office again. So he ran for office, became a congressman, was a congressman for years. He died. She runs in the special election and gets the seat of the impeached judge who became a congressman. I mean, what is it with this district in Florida that it's like only would-be felons? That's kind of the quality of, my gosh. Ron DeSantis, can we do something about redistricting here now that maybe we do need to redistrict? This is the Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach area, the 20th congressional district. Down there, it's a district that does not quite extend to the coast. It abuts A1A and has a little stick out into Lauderdale Lakes and up into Deerfield Beach. And just, my goodness. Well, she's going to be indicted. And, of course, she's screaming about Trump. But Trump, but Trump, but Trump. Now, I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity. They've been advocating for common sense conservative reforms for quite some time around the country and down to the local level. They would love for you to be engaged with them at afpvolunteer.com. afpvolunteer.com. Sign up with Americans for Prosperity today. They'll get you informed and engaged in your community, advocating common sense conservative reforms all the way up to Washington, D.C., where they were major advocates for the president's tax reform plan, rallied conservatives across the nation to explain it to neighbors and to get members of Congress to support it. They've been highly effective advancing common sense conservative reforms from school choice to tax cuts to deregulation. They'd love to have you engaged with them. AFPvolunteer.com. AFPvolunteer.com. I'm on their board of advisors. We would love to have you engaged coast to coast.